Hello and welcome. My name is Zaffar Iqbal and you are watching the Mojo Story. Rahul Gandhi, currently on a visit to the UK, has attacked the Modi government and said that the Indian democracy is under pressure. He said we are facing an attack on the basic structure of Indian democracy and the institutional framework which is required for democracy. Parliament, free press, judiciary, these are all getting constrained. He said that the BJP wants India to be silent and that there is suppression of voice across the country. He also alleged that the Pegasus software had been used to snoop on him. The BJP has hit back. BJP leader Sambit Patra in a press conference said, just because you are not a bright kid and not a bright kid of your dynastic party doesn't mean India is not a bright spot. Well, to discuss this, we are joined by an eminent panel. We're joined by Satyan Kulabkar, who's a spokesperson of the BJP. We're also joined by Anuma Acharya, spokesperson of the Congress. And we are joined by Ravi Mantha, political analyst. Rashid Kidwai, journalist, also joins us. If I may go to the Congress spokesperson first. Why is Rahul Gandhi making comments like Indian democracy is under stress on a foreign soil? What's the reason that he's making such comments there?
Good evening, Zaffar. I must remind you, if that is the question, the first question is that, yes, then I must remind you that in May 2022 in Denmark, PM spoke against opposition of India. He said that India is a digital power because of our government, but the opposition is against this dream of digital India. Then before that, in April 2015 in Canada, in Toronto, he said India was earlier like hell. We are now cleaning up. Now India will be skill India and not scam India. Before that, around the same time in Shanghai in May 2015, he said to the NRIs that earlier you used to feel ashamed of to be called as Indians. Now you feel pride. Now you can take pride. And then in Seoul, he again said, there are more examples, but I'll tell you about the 4 examples. Earlier, people used to curse themselves to be born in India, but now they would like to come here and settle down. So if it is only about speaking in the foreign soil against India, this is what our Prime Minister has said, the examples. Now, if Rahul Gandhi is talking, and if we are a democratic country, and if the discourse was learning to listen in the 21st century, and he was invited there, the central thread was about listening, and he was talking about listening only. And he also talked about Bharat Jodo Yatra, which was mainly, it started because of the gap between the rich and poor was increased, the polarization of society, the polarization and centralization of agencies. He talked about all this. But if you are talking
Anuma Acharya, let me come in here. There is a difference between the examples that you quoted first and what he said now. If we can actually play that soundbite to see exactly what he said, and then I can go across to the BJP spokesperson.
So, how would you react if democracy suddenly disappeared in Europe? Right? You'd be shocked and you'd be like, oh my God, that's a massive blow to democracy. Well, how would you react if something, a structure 3.5 times Europe suddenly went non-democratic, right? That's happened already. That's not something that is going to happen in the future. That's already happened. But there's no reaction. And if we're talking about Europe, that's the thing that shocks me. There's no reaction, right? And of course, there are reasons for there not being a reaction. There is sort of trade and there's money and stuff like that. But Indian democracy is a public good. And if you're looking at the democratic structure, it is the single most important public good. It's the largest. It's 3 or 4 times the size of the United States in terms of numbers. Same with regards to Europe. So the surprising thing is that the so-called defenders of democracy, which are the United States, European countries, seem to just be oblivious that a huge chunk of the democratic model has come undone, right? Which is a real problem. With regards to
There is no pressure that shocks me. Defenders of democracy seem to be oblivious of what is happening in India. What exactly does he mean? Does he want the foreign powers to intervene in the internal matters of India? Satyan?
That's exactly what I would like to ask. The reason being is, are you acting as a spokesman of China when you are in a Cambridge University? Are you repaying what Rajiv Gandhi Foundation got from China during their regime? There are a lot of questions about it. If you really have some suggestions about the country, yes, they are always welcome. If you talk about certain policies which you feel that they are not at par or as per your requirement, that can always be discussed. That's the open forum, and that should always be discussed for the betterment of the country. But you saying that Communist Party has a lot of harmony, you say that there was a yellow river because of which China is a nation. You have not seen Ma Ganga in that case. I would also like to say that in case of Pegasus, the court already said that you put your phone to us, we will check whether there was a Pegasus or not. But still, you never gave the phone and still kept on alligating the government. The irony was,
Right.
you said that the agency themselves told him that his phone was getting tapped. All these things always, whenever he goes to the soil of international level, he has got a habit of getting it either for some media attention or for some reasons which are best known to him. Again, I would
Okay.
like to say that this type of things for the betterment of country is not required. This type of stuff, especially when you are in a lot of confrontation on Galwan Valley, on the cross-border matters, there has to be a message that the country is united as far as the country interests are taken care of. But this is
Right.
not shown by
Right.
what Mr. Rahul Gandhi has said in Cambridge.
Rashid Kidwai, there is a difference. Attacking the government is one, and critiquing Indian democracy and saying that there is no democracy and there is no reaction from the foreign powers. Isn't there a clear difference?
Well, I think the entire this discourse about Rahul Gandhi speaking at a foreign soil, etc., is a little problematic because the technology has overtaken everything. As we are participating in this program, anybody anywhere in the world can be watching it, can be hearing it. Similarly, what is Twitter? If I tweet something or Rahul Gandhi tweets something on a platform, is it something Indian or is it something outside India? So thing is, in this technology time, whatever Rahul Gandhi speaks or says has the same
Yeah.
value. I think this is a bit rich, and of course, spoken from a political point of view that
Yeah.
he's maligning India, as the Congress spokesman has rightly pointed out to a spokesperson. There are numerous instances. You see, in the good old days of Atal Bihari Vajpayee era and earlier time, there was some kind of national consensus was there on matters relating to defense and matters relating to foreign policy, and there were a lot of cases I can cite where Atal Bihari Vajpayee used, Congress's Salman Khurshid or PV Narasimha Rao used Atal Bihari Vajpayee, or Rajiv Gandhi sent Atal Bihari Vajpayee abroad for, diplomatic missions and track to
Yeah.
diplomacy, etc. We have not seen that happening in last 9 years or so. So it takes two to tango. I mean, when there is a collapse of, so to say, the decency in a public discourse or all these things, both sides are responsible for it. Rahul Gandhi is consistent. Whatever he is saying, what he says here or he says abroad, I mean, you may find faults with it. I'm not defending him on that count, but he has a right to say it, and that is, of course, a feature of democracy. I think the point that you asked me about, looking at, he's not looking at government of America or government of Britain and all. He's talking about the democratic forces who have been who are there to help each other, and that's where what we call it Vasudev Kutum. That entire world is a global village, and we all are they're like on the matter of climate change, on the matter of democracy. Whole world is together. So I think we'll make a distinction. It is also, all these things are a little problematic.
Okay. Ravi Manta, Rahul Gandhi is consistent. That's what the Rashid Kidwai says. What he says in India is exactly what he says abroad. Does it make him a strong leader? Does it boost his image on the national level?
Look, I mean, I think there is a lot to like about Rahul Gandhi post Bharat Jodo Yatra. The
Yeah.
whole concept of a listening tour of India is a wonderful thing, and the amount of effort he's put in. And also the things he said about egolessness and consciousness, things where there were some really good parts of the speech. Now, having said that, there is also a few things where he gets it fundamentally, I believe, wrong. For example, he calls India a union of states, right? And that's fundamentally at odds with how we grew up in this country. I was always an Indian first and a Telugu next and every other identity next. We are not like the 13 colonies of the United States or the European community, which is a union of states. We are a union of India, which, and confusing the word Rashtra. Rashtra means nation in Sanskrit. Our Rashtrapati is the leader of the nation, is not the king. He says Rashtra means kingdom. It does not. Rashtrapati is not the king. Rashtra is nation, and the president is our Rashtrapati. So
Yeah.
there's a fundamental, I think, disconnect between perhaps his understanding, which he needs to rectify as one of the leaders of the opposition and a potential, prime minister candidate, if he needs to, connect with the intelligentsia in our country. That I think, other than those things, but like I really was, glad to see him undertake the Bharat Jodo Yatra, and then what he's doing in England is, he's done this before. I think what we tend to pay a lot more attention. Perhaps Indians are a little more sensitive to what our leaders say abroad than what they say in India,
Right.
and also the reception that they get abroad. And I think perhaps we need to be a little less sensitive about it. I think he's doing his job as one of the main leaders of the opposition.
He's doing his job. But let's hear exactly what he said when he was asked about that. You said we're sensitive whatever leaders say abroad. He was specifically asked about that. Let's play that soundbite.
There's nothing defaming India in my Cambridge lecture. Last I recall, the Prime Minister going abroad and announcing that there's been nothing done in 60 years of independence, 70 years of independence. I remember him saying that, there's a lost decade of 10 years. There's unlimited corruption in India. I remember him saying them abroad. These were not things he said in India. These were things he said abroad. Right? So, I have never defamed my country. I'm not interested in it. I will never do it. The BJP like to twist what I say. That's fine, and the media likes to sort of play it up. I mean, it gives you TRPs and all. But the fact of the matter is, the person who defames India when he goes abroad is the Prime Minister of India.
Wing Commander Anuma Acharya, he's not defamed his country, and according to if anybody defames it, it's the Prime Minister of India. But nevertheless, he made those comments, as Ravi was saying, that India is a union of states. Now, there are different views about that, but he made those comments. He may be speaking exactly the same what he says in India and what he says abroad. But don't you think that there should be a distinction, as was pointed out, that in the past there was a unanimity as far as defense and foreign affairs was concerned between the ruling party and the opposition?
Zaffar, thank God I am speaking on a forum which Mojo Story, which has impartial image. So first thing first, that Modi is our PM and India is our country. Modi is not India. That is one. Secondly, we always say, I'm not an expert, but we always say India has a federal structure. So now you see what is the difference from earlier to today is whatever is BJP ruled states, they get everything. They get their share of their right shares on time, whereas the other governments, such as maybe TMC, maybe Congress ruled states, they don't get their fair share. That is one. And similarly, when the vaccination drive was there, when they were procuring the vaccination, at that time they said, we have given the powers to the states and they can buy their own. So that is what Rahul Gandhi meant. Now, coming to this defense and foreign affairs. Now, today, ask me as a defense person, I feel so ashamed of so many things. Today, we are the fourth largest Indian air force in the world, and our thousands of kilometers has been invaded by China. We can't patrol where we used to patrol. So when there should be a joint meeting with the opposition, this government never does it, because learning to listen in the 21st century is not their baby. They don't want to listen to anything which is against them. They don't believe in discussing. They don't believe in negotiation. Rahul Gandhi very categorically said that the negotiation part is compromised. That has been attacked. Why that should happen? This is a democracy, and we all should have a freedom to speak up. At the same time, Rahul Gandhi, when he compared the United States and China, just look at how beautifully he has described. He talked about strength of both the countries. He said the most powerful idea of America is a land of free. And whereas he talked about China as processes and energy, wherein he used the Yellow River metaphor. Now, I have to ask the BJP spokesperson when he was saying that was he paying the debt back? Do I say when we lay red carpet to China and when our external affairs minister is so hesitant in speaking to Chinese counterpart, and every time he puts forth the military people, at that time do they pay back, repay the whatever has been donated to PM Care Fund? This is my question to them.
We'll ask the BJP, but
So
let us.
I don't think.
BJP has in fact hit out at Rahul Gandhi. Sambit Patra gave that press conference. Let's exactly hear what he had to say.
जहां पूरा विश्व हिंदुस्तान के लिए आज अच्छे शब्दों का प्रयोग कर रहा है, वहीं हिंदुस्तान का प्रमुख विपक्षी पार्टी और उस विपक्षी पार्टी के प्रमुख नेता राहुल गांधी जी विदेश में बैठकर कह रहे हैं हिंदुस्तान बर्बाद हो गया है, हिंदुस्तान में लोकतंत्र शेष नहीं रहा, हिंदुस्तान की जुडिशियरी फेल्ड जुडिशियरी है, हिंदुस्तान का मीडिया बिका हुआ मीडिया है, हिंदुस्तान आज एक ऐसा देश नहीं है जहां आप जाके इन्वेस्ट कर सके.
Satyan Kulapkar, on one hand, he says that he's not a bright kid, and on the other hand, comes up with a full-fledged press conference. Why do you react to what Rahul Gandhi is saying there? Why do you give importance if he's not so bright and it doesn't deserve merit so much attention? Then why is BJP coming and responding?
Anybody and everybody who will pinpoint at the integrity of the country will be questioned, and that has happened because of his speech in Cambridge, where he's asking people, you are Sikh, you are Muslim, you are Isai, and you are not, the frontliners in the country. Is that been a case? What would have been the country look like? How means he is dividing the entire country on the basis of religion, exactly the same politics that they have played for years together. It is not required. We always believe, we always believe that it's a Vasudhaiva Kutumba Bhava. We believe that there is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. And when we talk of it, how are you asking somebody sitting in Cambridge that this guy is a Hindu, this is a Muslim, this is a Sikh or a Isai, and then you pinpoint them that you are not in the front line of in the country's opinion making? This is what we are opposing. This is what we don't believe. And about what Congress spokesman said about defense, Congress doesn't have a right to say anything on the defense parameters. They are the same people who were asked questions about the integrity of Uri attack. They are the same people who never thought of making anything in the country, whereas this government has made BrahMos as a missile. We have Vikrant as our INS, and so many things that country is now becoming defense self-reliant and not even reliant for the country, but now in the phase where we can start exporting. Congress cannot think on this line. They are more interested in the Augusta Westland. They are more interested in Bofors and all other issues which are related to the corruption part of it.
But defense matters are a continuous process. Rashid Kidwai, the point that he's making is that Rahul Gandhi's comments rather have been more divisive rather than bringing people together and bringing an atmosphere of negotiation, as he says, between different states. What do you say?
You see, Zaffar, I think Mr. Satyan is within his rights to criticize Rahul Gandhi, but to say that the Congress has been, insensitive to defense matters and all, I think it's a bit rich. We must not forget that it was the Congress government that won 3 decisive wars against Pakistan. So you cannot just take away that, including dividing Pakistan into two in 1971 war, all these things, and that at that point of time, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee had held Indira Gandhi as the Durga Ma. So all kind of things are there. I think there is a political rhetoric that both political parties are indulging. The key point, Zafar, is, as I see it, is a problem that the distinction, the fine distinction that should exist between the Indian state and the government of India is sought to be blurred. So if you criticize the government of the day, which as a citizen all of us are entitled to, it's misconstituted as a criticism of the Indian state. Indian state is something sacred. I have full devotion and commitment towards the Indian state, but my devotion to a government or to a political party cannot be, or rather should not be, absolute. So this is a distinction that as a Democrats we must understand. And here the BJP has very deftly, I'm seeing it since 2014, has done that. So they're blurred it and they are able to actually score a point. And the Congress has a problem of the narrative. So whatever Congress says or does, it's sought to put in as a kind of thing that someone who's being anti-national or acting against the national interest.
Right. Ravi Mantha, the lines are getting blurred. If you criticize the Indian government, it's seen as a criticism of the Indian state, though the two are entirely different.
Look, I think there's no question that if you're looking at the state level, our democracy is super vibrant because, you do have, there are 3 states ruled by Congress also, right? So are they saying that there is no democracy in those states either? So they're clearly, there's democracy at the state level. I live in Telangana, which is not a BJP state. But I think when you're looking at a national parliament, you have a majority that we have not seen since the days of Rajiv Gandhi, the first term. Right? These are the levels of essentially a majority where the opposition, the combined level of opposition is actually has lesser voice. It's just fewer MPs. That's just the way it is. It has happened. The people have spoken in 2019, and then you fight it again in 2024 and hope for hope to get a different outcome if you want. But the real key for me is that the second and extremely important pillar of democracy is the judiciary. And if you look at today, the Supreme Court with a full strength, led by one of the top eminent jurists and managing their own affairs and getting more and more freed from government interference. We have never seen this in the history of independent India. So, we have to be encouraged by, yes, there are, incidents happening, with free speech and states abusing their power of extradition and sending people to from other places. These things are happening, but the judiciary is not going to lie idle. So they're going to push back and they will strengthen our democracy. And I think we're actually in a pretty good space on that front.
Okay, Wing Commander Anuma Acharya, I want to ask you a very specific question. On what basis did Rahul Gandhi make the claim that there was Pegasus software installed on his phone? He had never given his phone for inspection.
See, but that report was quite, I think the Wire has already published that report and his name was already there. Now you're talking about Pegasus, but let me, before I reply to this question, let me tell you that BJP spokesperson made a very preposterous rhetoric. As a logistics officer who was associated with procurement for 24 years of my life, I'm quite entitled to make that comment that earlier, easiest example is we bought 1,600 aircrafts in 70 years. That means 22 aircrafts per year. Here we have bought only 36 plus 6 aircrafts in last 9 years. That means some very few in single digit we have bought every year. Then we started manufacturing MiG-21s. He should know this. From 1970 onwards, with the help of Russia, we used to take transfer of technology, which they have never applied for, they have never taken. Despite that, they have purchased the most expensive aircrafts 3 times. And then Augusta, Westland, and Bofors, who you have put in the jail. What is this? Why these rhetoric should come up in the you can't do that. You can't do that. This is incorrect from the now.
I agree that defense matters are a continuous process. If a program is started, it cannot happen overnight. There's a lot of research and thinking that it takes years altogether. But
no, but still,
But coming back to my question about the Pegasus software, I just wanted to know on what basis did he say that the software was installed on his phone?
there was a purchase which came up in the discourse, in the dialogues, that there was a purchase for which government of India did not give any justification, and that purchase was made from Israel. And there was, this is investigation and investigative journalism, which is almost, it's curbs in such a manner. So we have read that story, and a lot of journalists who has also given their phones, it has come out. And at Supreme Court of India said that government of India did not help, did not assisted in that investigation. That's the SC's remark. So if SC is able to bring out that, how can you say that it was not installed?
Okay, Satyan.
During UPA 2 time, Pranav Mukherjee was one of the ministers there. One should go and refer back to the statement that he has given for his own government, where he says that Mr. Chidambaramji was trying to bug his entire room for knowing what is exactly happening. So that this entire episode of Congress is not new for us. It's very old. They have given in a RTI official statement that 9,000 phones were tapped. Eventually, that figure went to 1 lakh phones tapping. And around 1,800 emails or 18,000 email. I'll be wrong on some figures in that case, but few 100,000 emails were getting read every day, and this has been confirmed by the UPA government during those times. Manmohan Singh ji said that this is done for the integrity and the security of the country. Now one should understand that this is the same Congress now who is standing up and saying about Pegasus. If yes, there was a question that they had in their mind, they should have given the phone, get it checked thoroughly, and that the report would have come. But they didn't do that. That's what the beauty of the entire matter is. You have to always try to get some other basis to talk about for opposition, as a part of opposition. That is what they are doing it. And the people of the country have understood that who is serving the country, who is working for the betterment of the country, and who is just trying to create grounds on basis against the country. That has been clearly evident in even by the people of the citizen, by the country people, and it has been shown in the elections as well.
Rashid, do you think that it should have drawn so much response from India, whatever Rahul Gandhi is saying there? India, after all, is a strong country, not so weak and fragile that it will get affected by those comments.
I think, Zaffar, everyone knows this very well, that India is not fragile and we have very strong democratic credentials, and not that is why politicians and political parties and individuals are going through the motions. They're just criticizing for the sake of criticism, and this is something I see it, it's very rhetorical. Look at my friend Satyan. He is not opposing the idea of people's phone being tapped, and he's quite right. I can give a lot of examples how Chandrasekhar government was brought down because Rajiv Gandhi felt that his house was being was under surveillance. There are a lot of chief ministers have had to resign. So surveillance is very much part of it. When the Congress or UPA was in power, perhaps it was also doing it, and now also it's happening. So this is a kind of reality. Whether it's happening in the larger national interest, I don't know, but this is a very acceptable thing. That is, some kind of surveillance is there, and some kind of political intelligence gathering takes place. These are all other features. I think if just politicians just criticize each other, that's fine. But again, as they say it in Hindi, कि आपका मतलब मतभेद हो, मनभेद नहीं होना चाहिए. जो नियत पे शक किया जाता है, you are questioning people's. I mean, Rahul Gandhi may not be a very good, politician. He may not, his party may not be very, but then the opposition was also for. I mean, I'm talking about the BJP, Jan Sangh. They were also for decades. They were in opposition. It was not that they were not right. It was not that they were not serving people's interest. The mandate theory is flawed because you only get some 40% vote or so, and you come to power. So that doesn't mean that you are representing 100% of people. That's a model of governance, and we have accepted it. But the opposition has a role, and we must accept and acknowledge and try to, help them out in that sense, rather than to discard them as anti-nationals.
Well, opposition has a role, and they cannot be discarded as anti-nationals in a democracy. How can a democracy function when there is no opposition, Ravi?
I mean, that's exactly my point, Zaffarji, that we now have a situation where the BJP has a very significant majority in parliament, so you just have fewer opposition voices to begin with. But when Mr. Gandhi goes abroad and says, I'm not allowed to speak about GST or about farmers or about unemployment in India, I mean, that's a little stretch of the truth. He's welcome to say anything in Parliament or outside. And he's a very emotional person, and you respect the sentiment that he feels that perhaps his voice is not as loud as it was perhaps a decade ago, but they're in power. But we do have a lot of thin skins as Indians. I think we care a lot about what the foreign press says. And if you actually look at, he spoke just today in Hounslow and got a raucous reception just now, about an hour ago. And I was watching the speech and I thought, my goodness, if he's running for Member of Parliament for Hounslow, he would be a shoo-in the next election. But it's not going to play much in Wayanad, where he actually has to run in 24. So, I would discount some of those relating to the diaspora and all those things. I mean, Mr. Modi also does it. He does an amazing job with the diaspora, and so does Mr. Gandhi. So, I really don't think there's a big brouhaha to be made out of this.
Before we wrap up, there's another point that was very interesting. I wanted to ask Congress spokesperson. He said that when he was in Bharat Jodo Yatra in Kashmir, he came face to face with terrorists. How is that possible? I covered Bharat Jodo Yatra in Kashmir. It's not possible. He went on the first day of Bharat Jodo Yatra. He was told by the police that there was some security problems. He stopped his walk. The Bharat Jodo Yatra continued. From next day onwards, he walked all the way until the tricolor was hoisted in Lal Chowk. How did he come to that conclusion?
He did not say that he came across to the terrorists. He said some people who were called terrorists, or perhaps they have approached him through some people. That's what he said. And he said
somebody told him that there are terrorists, but since he was on a peace mission or something, so he thought that they would attack him, but nothing, because since he was on a non-violent peaceful mission, so nothing happened like that.
So exactly, that's what he said. People came with the Tiranga, and so many Tirangas, they have come out from their houses. They were they were not coming out. So they found a way out and they came to this thing, and everybody came in. So if somebody said he met terrorists, no, not exactly terrorists, but he said mines will be there and they will be blown, and they discussed within the Bharat Yatris, and then they decided to move ahead. So nothing happened. Basically, he was on a peace mission. That's what he said. He did not meet any terrorist, as you are perhaps trying to say. No. He just mentioned that people...
I'm not saying. He said that somebody told him that there are those militant. He used the word militant, but he said that he thought that they will attack him at that point in time. But obviously, he was on a peace mission and he was non-violent, so that did not happen. This was sort of very, very strange, because we covered the Bharat Jodo Yatra in Kashmir. It's just not possible. There was foolproof security arrangements made. I want to get a response from Satyan before we close the show.
This is what Rahul Gandhi is known for. You are a leader of a party in opposition. You are a leader where people are looking at you. And still, when you give such statements, which are, I'll say, vague in nature, they don't actually carry any bones or, flashes. So that's what makes him known for this. The same type of statement he has given in Cambridge, the same type of statement he has given in Kashmir. When you say you are meeting a militant one-to-one, what does that mean? What does that a common person will understand what exactly he is trying to say? Which I am not able to understand. I am very sure the people in Congress are also not able to understand. But I always wish that he has a concrete, some better suggestions for the betterment of the country. And even from the opposition we will surely like to cater to them, their suggestions also.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have on the show. Thanks to all our panelists for joining us. That's all the time that we have. And thanks for watching.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.